What's up everyone, I'm Melissa Elise and you're watching Melissa Elise TV. Welcome to my September book club review. In this video, I'll be talking about Pulitzer Prize winner and national bestseller Less by Andrew Sean Greer, and of course revealing the next book of the month. So let's get to it. There will likely be spoilers in this video, so proceed at your own discretion. I had a hard time trying to figure out where to start with this review, not for any bad reasons, because I really love this book. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I just want to do it justice. Less is so good and totally worth the read. So if you haven't read it yet, I hope I can inspire you to read it. And if you have, I hope I cover all the best parts for you. So what is Less about? Well, it's about a writer named Arthur Less who is about to embark on the journey of a lifetime. And I picked this book up because of that fact, because I love stories that take you on an adventure, take you to places you've never been, and this definitely did that. Less plans to go to New York, Mexico, Italy, Germany, Morocco, where he's then gonna go on this expedition through the Sahara Desert, then India, and finally Japan before returning home to San Francisco. That alone sounds interesting to me. How can you not want to read that? You know something's gonna happen in all of these places. He can't just go on a trip around the world and nothing happens to him, right? And what spurs this crazy adventure is a wedding invitation that Les receives in the mail requesting his presence at the marriage of Frederico Pellew and Thomas Dennis. Frederico, or Freddie as everyone calls him, is Les's ex-boyfriend. Of course, Les can't go, but he also can't just decline the invitation. So he sends his apologies and informs them that he'll be out of the country, accepting every other offer that he has, which includes a teaching post, a conference, a writing retreat, a travel article, someone else's birthday party. The list goes on. Les's itinerary starts in New York, where he's interviewing a famous author, and that's also where this book opens. But something I love about this book is its nonlinear storyline. I love the way this story is told because we meet Les at the beginning of his journey, but that's not the beginning of his story. So as he goes from place to place, we get excerpts of important details, we get flashbacks to important moments and relationships in his life, like when he met Robert Brownburn, the famous poet that becomes Les's lover of 10 or more years. And of course, there's flashbacks to when he met Freddie and important moments in their relationship. There's excerpts of Les's childhood and his relationship with his parents. There's something so significant about every relationship and person that Les meets in this story. Either their past relationship impacted him deeply, or someone says something to him that changes how he might think or what he might do next. He has guides that take him from the airport and around the city for every place that he goes, and either they remind him of something, they trigger a flashback, they say something that makes him decide to do something different. There's just no throwaway characters or moments in this story, which is so cool to read because everything feels so important to Les's journey, which is a good thing because this is also a love story. One of the two most important relationships in this book is between Les and Robert, and Les says that he stole Robert from his wife, but I would say that Robert left his wife for Les, and they were together for 10 or more years. I really couldn't find exactly how long they were together, but Les says that they started going out or got together when he was 21 and they ended somewhere in his 30s, so definitely more than 10 years. And people in Les's career still associate him with Robert, but there's so much more to their relationship, especially for Les because he was so young and it was one of his first really committed relationships, and he really did love Robert. And I love the flashbacks and reflections on their relationship, again because they mean so much to Les, but also because they show you how Les has become who he is now. And there's two I really like. The first, when Les is remembering what it was like to live with a great writer or a genius, the highs and the lows, the successes and the depressions, when Robert would be spontaneous and take him on trips, and then when he would be locked in his study for months at a time. But also if Robert is a genius, what does that make Les? Which addresses his struggle in standing on his own as a writer. The second passage I really like is when Les regrets all the affairs he had while with Robert, and how this one time he lost a ring that Robert gave him in the grocery store, and all these other husbands are coming over to try and help him find it, and they're sharing stories about how their wives were so upset when they lost their rings, and he goes along and says his wife is going to be so upset with him. So his willingness to conform in that situation was so interesting. It introduces a whole nother theme, but it was still very telling of the state of his and Robert's relationship at the time. It's worth mentioning that Robert is like 20 years older than Les, and in Les's relationship with Freddie, Les is the older man. And they're supposed to be casual, but they go on casually together for 9 years. And when they finally split, it's not overt that either one of them are torn up about it. You can tell that they meant something to one another, but it certainly becomes more significant as the story unfolds and Les recalls moments in their relationship. The narration also hints at this because most of it is third person, but then there are parts that are first person from Freddie. And I don't know if it was just me, but I didn't really recognize that it was Freddie until closer to the end. And there's a bit of mystery towards the end about the outcome of Freddie's wedding. And all I can say, in case you haven't read this, is that I love the ending. The last page of this book is so profound and beautiful, and I want more. So let's see, we've got a trip around the world and a love story, but some other themes include growing older, because most of the book, Les is about to turn 50, and he has a lot of apprehension about aging. He really thinks of himself in two different phases of life, and he'll think of himself as young Arthur Les versus old Arthur Les. And he swears he will not be alone on his birthday, which is ironic because the other theme and question this book asks early on is how to live alone and not be alone. And he realizes even after Robert, he never truly let himself be alone. And even on this trip throughout the story, he has a couple new lovers. But of course, in the end, he still spends his birthday alone. But I think Les learns a lot on his journey and becomes a better writer for it. And he is at least a little bit more capable of embracing life and growing older as just a part of life. And I think the character growth in his arc is reflected in the chapter titles, because the first chapter is called Les at First, and then as he goes to each place it's called Les Mexican, Les German, and so on. But the last chapter is called Les at Last, which is saying a lot actually, and like I said, I love the last page. The last thing I want to say about this book is that it is so beautifully and well written. Like I said, the nonlinear storyline is really cool, but the way this book is written and the writing style overall is so poetic. I dog ear my books, and I don't know if you can see, but there's so many dog ears in this book from beginning to end, and it won't even lay flat and close all the way because there were just so many beautiful passages and lines that were poetic and profound and lovely, and I can't wait to read Sean Greer's next book, and I'll probably go and pick up some of his others because I love not only this book and this story, but the way that it's written. Okay, well that's it for me, but of course I want to hear from you guys. If you've read Les, what did you think? And if you haven't, when are you going to? And of course, I have to reveal the next book club pick for September, which is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Mossby, which tells the story of a young woman who spends a year under the influence of a combination of drugs that are supposed to help her assimilate into the world. And I am both scared and excited to read this. It's supposed to be more of a dark comedy, so hopefully it'll be good. And if you guys have any suggestions for books you want me to read and review, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next month. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for more book reviews.